BisMan Weekly on Super Talk 1270 with me, Jim Walsh, and once again this week talking about the proposal for a hike in the Mandan sales tax in order to build that proposed sports complex. This week, we're going to get the other side of the issue. A couple of weeks ago, we had Marlo Anderson talking about the taking the con position, if you will, against the tax hike, asking some interesting questions. This week, we've got the folks from the other side, and you guys are going to get the full hour right up to 12 o'clock here to give your side of the story. Number, by the way, 663-1270. At this point, let me introduce our main speaker for the hour. Old friend of the show, Dot Frank is here. Why are you making a face at me, Dot?
Well, I like the main speaker as the introduction, despite the fact that I've got some friends in the studio with me.
Yeah,
so I'm hoping that
defer to you on that.
I'm hoping that we'll spend a fair amount of time discussing this project with them as well. But I'll take the lead role for sure.
Please do.
This is a great project. Excited to be here on Super Talk 1270 and the opportunity to offer some perspective from the proponents of this sports complex. This is something that's been deliberated for several years, fully vetted, which, the one thing that's really interesting is as you initiate and launch a project like this, you do your best to make sure that everybody's well aware of it, has access to the resources that were put in advance of proposing this idea. But you always have those folks who we hear from who, this is new news to them. Maybe they're new to the community. They haven't been tuned in completely over the course of the past several years. And so they're surprised, which is one thing that we're actually kind of excited to see and hear because it gives us the opportunity to address those questions and also respond to some of their concerns. The one thing that's really interesting as we gather more and more friends on Facebook in particular, we're up to 1,202 people in support of this initiative here in the Mandan community. As we, see more and more people engage online and we can discuss and deliberate with them, it's a really good opportunity to hear from them, gather their insight, find out kind of what ideas they have for the complex, what types of ideas they have for repurposing the current facilities. And what's really interesting is a lot of their ideas are our ideas. Okay. They're ideas that have been discussed over the past several years. So it's like, yeah, good idea. We had the same one. Kind of the birds of a feather join us as we work to get this initiative passed. So it's been really interesting. It's been an excellent experience. I'm one of many who serve on a committee that's in support of a yes vote on June 9th. We have a really good cross-section of Mandan residents, both long-term residents and those who are newer to the community that come with ideas and experiences they've had in other metropolitan areas. They've seen the potential that facilities like this have brought to other places across the state and across the country. So we have a good cross-section of not only residents, people who work and reside in Mandan, as well as own and operate businesses, because that's one thing that we need their cooperation on is communicating with not only constituents in our area, but those newcomers that come in, that they are, in effect, with each and every purchase on taxable items, supporting such a wonderful facility. Yeah. So excited to have the opportunity to sit down here, share the news across the radio that we've got additional information out there and available. We are a very open group. You can access a lot of us personally via the phone, via email, via social media, and of course we've got those public meetings that are taking place soon. So it's been a great run. We're excited to push through to the end, and we're hoping that more people come on board to join the over 1,200 already who have made that commitment to vote yes.
Okay, refresh my memory. When exactly is the vote?
So the vote is June 9th.
Okay.
And actually, residents of Mandan have the opportunity to vote yes and vote early. Absentee ballots are available right now through the city of Mandan. And so if you're not available on June 9th, I know things come up. You might be out of town. School is out, so you might be out camping or recreating already. Make sure you grab that absentee ballot and vote in your absence. Otherwise, you can hit the polls on June 9th. We've got 2 different polling places that will be available for residents to voice their vote.
Well, why don't you start off, I guess, by introducing your friends here, and you can talk about their capacities, how they're involved in the campaign, if you will.
Yeah, so, really the Vote Yes campaign is being led by volunteers, community volunteers who are putting their time to educate and encourage people to get out and vote for this. But we can't do this without the cooperation of a lot of different groups, particularly those sports clubs that are directly impacted by the complex and the changes to existing infrastructure, as well as the park district. And I'm happy to have in the office or in the studio with us this morning the Parks and Rec Director, Cole Higlin. And Cole has been around with this idea, kind of thrown it around several tables, lots of discussions, public input meetings, user groups. It's been a long process, and it's finally coming to fruition, which is really exciting, I would imagine, for Cole and his staff to see the opportunity present itself for the community to support this initiative. So Cole is here. Cole has a lot of information. I know we've been fielding a lot of good questions on Facebook and social media, and a lot of those questions relate to the very technical aspects of this project. And Cole has those answers at his fingertip, and he's been available to answer all of them. As I had mentioned before, when you've got several years of work behind a project like this, you're prepared, and he comes prepared to answer those types of questions. So I'd like to introduce Cole Higlin.
Good morning. We started this process in April of 2013, really soliciting all the user groups from every aspect of the community as far as what are the needs. And that was really directed by the Park Board Commissioners to start figuring out how we can pay for these projects, how much can we contribute. And what really came from is there's a lot of needs in our community. And a lot of our facilities have been updated over the years, but there's been a couple that have been put off to the side just because of the dollar amount. And when we started digging deeper into the costs, a 2-sheet ice arena, what the city of Mandan has right now, needs $1.5 million worth of improvements to the chiller system and the concrete in the facility. And when you start looking at those type of numbers, there's no room to expand, no room to offer a second sheet as far as into the parking lot, additional tournaments, things like that can address the hockey needs. Then we started talking with Dakota Star Gymnastics as far as their needs and their facilities, that they're not ADA accessible. They're having a lot of infrastructure needs associated with their facility. How can we address and combine those two facilities together? So those are the two that really stood out of that meeting, but there were a lot of ideas and concepts associated with it.
Hold that thought for a second, Dot. We do have to take a break here, but we'll come back and we'll have some questions for you. We'll talk specifically about how the money is going to be, for want of a better word, earmarked. Basically how the money is going to be spent. That is one of the big concerns about this. Anytime you talk about raising taxes, I don't think people necessarily, well, some people may have a knee-jerk reaction to it and say, no way, but a lot more people, I think, will say, well, okay, tell us how exactly you're going to use the money. Specifically, where are you going to spend it and how you're going to invest it. We'll get back to all that in just a few minutes. Again, your calls are welcome at 663-1270. My name is Jim Walsh. It's Super Talk 1270 and online at supertalk1270.com with Dot Frank and friends talking about the proposal for a hike in the sales tax for Mandan. Their website, voteyesmandan.com. We'll continue BisMan Weekly in just a moment here at Super Talk 1270.
Right now it's 54.
Sean Hannity, weekdays at 2, only on Super Talk 1270.
Jim Walsh on Super Talk 1270 with BisMan Weekly. This week, once again, talking about the proposed hike in the Mandan sales tax, I should say. Too much caffeine, that's what does it. And this week we have the folks who are on the vote yes side of the debate. Dot Frank and friends. We'll reintroduce everybody in just a moment here. And again, I want to encourage folks who want to call in with their questions at 663-1270. Now, Dot, what kind of reaction has there been in the community at large about this particular issue?
I think overall the reaction has been extremely positive and encouraging. Not only do we have the support of thousands of families who are going to be directly impacted through the participation of either their children, their grandchildren, their nieces, their nephews, and in fact themselves. One thing that we often overlook is all the adult athletes in our community that really stand to benefit from this initiative as well. And there are plenty of them, whether it's the men's league that is utilizing the hockey facilities as late as 12 o'clock at night, or it's the softball teams that are really crammed for space during tournament time. This does reach and impact a lot of individuals and families across the community. So very supportive. It's really interesting. I encourage people to investigate this initiative online at voteyesmandan.com or check us out on Facebook. On Facebook, what's really enlightening is to see people, residents from years past in the community, who are piping in to share their support for this project. I've been out of town for 50 years, and it's about time that we do something for Mandan. Put Mandan first. Don't wait for someone else to go before you. So, it's inspiring to see those types of comments and hear that type type of testimony and the encouragement that we're receiving. You know, one business owner in particular, right here on the Strip, close to your studio, shared her support for this initiative and the project. The fact that it has the potential to bring in hundreds and thousands of people to the community to utilize these facilities during tournament time in particular, attract people when it comes to decisions for home ownership. That's encouraging to her. She said, to be quite honest, sales tax, people don't fickle with. What they're concerned with is the sticker price on the item.
Yeah.
And so it's good to hear that type of commentary. Now, of course, we've got people who are concerned, and rightfully so.
Yeah.
That's where we really want to spend the time to educate them on how the process works, how the funds are generated, and like you mentioned before break, how the funds are spent.
Exactly. We'll get to all that within the hour. Let's talk a little bit more specifically about the proposal for the sports complex. What it's going to look like, where it's going to be built, and what exactly it will include. You know, what sports will be included. I understand you're talking about, for example, 2 ice rinks. Is that correct?
Absolutely, and I'll probably defer
Do we need
to
2 ice rinks?
We need more than 2 ice rinks. We're
Okay.
being conservative in that request, but people are conservative in their giving. So our request is coinciding with the nature of North Dakotans. But we could definitely use more than 2 sheets of ice. And if you look at communities across the state, they have way more ice than Bismarck Mandan currently has, despite the fact that we've got some really high populations and user groups. But I'll defer to Cole Higlin, Parks Director, to talk about what this new facility means for the community, what's involved as far as the equipment and the infrastructure. And then also if Cole could share to the fact the renovations and revitalization of existing infrastructure. We have some people that think, oh, you're just going to walk away from Ferris Field. Oh, you're just going to walk away from. Not at all. They're going to be repurposed into a higher, better use. And so, Cole, if you want to talk about the sports complex and what will happen with the yes vote.
So what we're doing is a $22 million sales tax, 3/4 cent, to address the 2-sheet ice arena, gymnastics component, a brand new AstroTurf field, and a brand new track, all as a big sports complex. In addition to that, there's $1 million of the $22 million set aside for the Ferris Field existing football field to renovate that into ball diamonds to address some of our needs in our youth baseball and fast pitch programs. Last night at our park board meeting, our commissioners actually approved a 0 net valuation increase to the home valuations pending the sales tax vote on June 9th. We actually had discussion in executive session about 5 potential sites. We're looking in the northwest part of Mandan and also the northern area around the refinery and the Mandan Middle School. We're looking at property that gives us the opportunity to at least grow retail and commercial, and that was a big point that we want to be able to stress, is that the place we want to put this is so the community of Mandan can grow, so we can get additional restaurants and retail stores and also commercial activities. We know we have good development for residential and multifamily, but we also want to make sure we're addressing the retail to help pay the sales tax to help contribute towards our project. As far as existing facilities, the All Seasons Arena, we actually met last week with individuals who can benefit from this. And we've talked about the opportunity of physical education during the core hours of 8 to 3:30 when most kids are in school. That would be able to utilize for the high school's needs. From 3:30 to 6, a lot of the high school activities would be able to participate in there as far as practice. And then after 6 o'clock, there's a lot of gym shortage needs inside the school district facilities today, whether it's traveling basketball, whether it's volleyball, indoor tennis, indoor soccer, be able to utilize that. So we try to find a multi-sport type court that can utilize all these different activities. But then at the same time, if track would like to utilize that facility during inclement weather during the winter, could participate in some of those activities there. So when you started having these meetings, a lot of ideas have come out of it in trying to find that right mix of a floor. And there's a sport court that can be used. There's a rubberized tartan type flooring that you see in a lot of field houses that could be in there. We want to be able to put something that can be benefited for many activities. And so going back to the multi-purpose or the sports complex, right now we want to be able to bring people to our community for collegiate soccer games. Maybe it's Class B regional football games or Class B regional track meets. This sports complex would give us that ability. Some of the issues that we have down at Ferris Field today are drainage issues associated with some of the issues with the track being canceled for this year. So all track meets were canceled. And that was one of the issues that we wanted to make sure is it's not a park district sales tax. It's a community betterment package. And we're trying to make sure that all entities are being involved and being heard. And the designs that we showed you with the pictures and things, that's just to get the design and get the discussion and the thought process. If it were to pass on June 9th, all of us would have public meetings trying to get the input with every individual group that would benefit and provided the park district direction associated with how it should look and be
I
designed.
will mention that you've done your homework as far as the artist rendering of the proposed sports complex. I have the brochure in my hands here, which I would imagine folks can get a hold of. If they contact you, they can get a hold of it and take a look for themselves. And you have a website, right?
Yes,
The website.
the Mandan Park District has one, mandanparks.com.
Okay.
Yeah, and then the group that's in support of the project, we also have a website that includes all of the photography, the renderings, letters of support from different community constituents, as well as dates and details on voting, and that's voteyesmandan.com. And that site, I mean, it'd be wonderful through the power of radio if we could magically send them the imagery, because it is a beautiful facility. And
Theater of the mind here.
you know, and one thing to talk about, not only the increased capacity that it creates, I mean, we can't attract more tournaments, more revenue to this community if we don't have facilities that can facilitate that type of business.
Yeah.
So that's why, you know, we need to do this in order to inspire and attract additional businesses to the community. But the one thing from a purely aesthetic standpoint, there's something to be said about investing in facilities. And I don't care if you're in a brand new school and as a student you feel incredibly proud of that space and it motivates you to learn and show and share and tell that with others, or if you're in an office that recently underwent a renovation. It's incredibly refreshing and inspirational for individuals when you're in a facility that the community cares about and you can showcase and share with others.
Now, Dot, we've talked a little bit about the construction of the complex. The building is one thing. The maintenance and upkeep, that's also an issue, and that's something we have to talk about. On a regular basis, you're going to need folks to keep everything going, you know, a guy to drive the Zamboni on the ice machine and everything else. Where is the money going to come from for the maintenance and the upkeep?
Well, currently at the All Seasons Arena, we have an operating budget of about $100,000. We have 3 full-time staff that are allocated to there. Those 3 full-time staff will be relocated to new sports complex if it passes on June 9th. We would have to probably look at hiring some type of full-time manager to oversee the entire complex for scheduling and purchasing and those things that go along with managing something of that magnitude. As far as the operational expenses, we've already entered into a long-term lease with the Mandan Hockey Club, who was guaranteeing us $100,000 of ice rent a year. We know we have already the Mandan Public Schools who rent ice, along with the adult men's and women's leagues. There's opportunities from Bismarck to come over, and we welcome them to come utilize this facility with their ice needs. We also offer 2,500 kids actually went through public skate this past year for the public and the families to come out and enjoy activities. And so when you put all of them together, we actually are comparing the budget that we are working on. We're going to present it on May 19th is what Mesa and Minot, what Fargo two-sheet arena has, and what the two-sheet Icon in Grand Forks. We have their operating budgets as far as what it takes to operate a two-sheet ice arena. And the positive thing to the Park District is we don't have the debt load that those organizations would have because this would be paid for through a sales tax. So that wouldn't hurt the bottom line to the operations associated with maintaining this. And as far as with the sports complex of the football and the track component, we actually are working out in a lease agreement with the school district. The Park District utilizes all of the Mandan Public Schools for our after-school care program, our youth adults basketball and volleyball programs. So we have a nice working relationship, which technically really is good government, sharing each other's facilities, not duplicating services, and it gives us the opportunity to extend that joint powers agreement with the school district.
Now, what about public access? I mean, we do have the one rink in Bismarck, of course, the VFW. It would be real nice to have those 1 or 2 extra rinks available as scheduling allows for, you know, folks who want to just go out and do a little ice skating on the weekends. Will that be possible?
Absolutely. We do that today. Like I mentioned earlier, we had 2,500 people come through our public skate time. I think with two-sheet, it gives us the opportunity to increase that to the community and also give kids more time on ice.
And there's some income right there as well.
Yep.
All right, we're talking with, you want to wrap things up for the half hour here? Dot, we've got a break coming up.
Yeah, we've got a break. I mean, just encourage those listeners who are curious, check us out at voteyesmandan.com. Find us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter. Ask those questions. You know, we've got a lot of support from the committee, a good cross-section of representation for the city of Mandan, and we're ready to respond to those questions and concerns. In fact, we've made it really a point to have people pay particular attention to those questions that come up, and we try to respond immediately, point you in the right direction, get you the right resources. And whether that's us as volunteers who are supportive of this initiative answering and addressing your concerns, or perhaps passing you on to the right people. I know we've sent a few people to Cole because he has that technical information that the Park District can supply. We've had questions that really have nothing to do with the sales tax initiative, but in an effort to support those questions and concerned citizens, we might defer them to the city. And so we're there to respond and to answer those questions, to make you a well-informed voter when it comes to June 9th's election, and also hopefully to get you to consider voting yes for our community.
Now, what I'd like to do, Dot, in the next half hour, we'll kind of turn things around a little bit, and we'll talk about the other side of the issue. We've talked about a bit about the benefits. We do need to talk about the cost and about how the money is going to be used, and we'll get down to some very specific facts and figures in just a few minutes with Dot Frank here and Dot's guest for VoteYesMandan.com. Did I get it right?
You got it right.
All righty. The campaign to hike the sales tax.
The one thing, though, I would interrupt, Jim.
Yes.
Just for nuances. I would really encourage those listeners not to consider this as a hike to sales tax.
Well,
it's an increase.
Increase.
It's an increase. And I think those nuances really matter to people. I really think they have an impact on people. And we want them to recognize that they have the opportunity to elect to have that increase themselves. Get out and get, active in the community. Learn about this. And if you want to take the opportunity, we're hoping you do say yes to increasing the sales tax temporarily to pay for a very specific project.
Okay, more with Dot Frank and friends for VoteYesMandan.com in just a couple of minutes here. Super Talk 1270 and SuperTalk1270.com. Hang in there.
Right now it's 54.
Get the traffic and weather information you need anytime on Super Talk 1270 and online at supertalk1270.com.
Well, all righty then. Jim Walsh here with the BisMan Weekly Tuesday edition on Super Talk 1270. And today talking with Dot Frank and friends as part of the Vote Yes Mandan campaign, an effort to get I'm told I should describe it as not a hike necessarily, but a raise in the sales tax for the Mandan area. Semantics, I guess.
They make a big difference.
Okay, if you say so. Okay,
because a hike, to me, a hike is adding, 3% to my sales tax, 5%, 8%, but this is 0.75%.
Yeah, semantics, I know, but a lot of people will say,
a dollar amount that attributes to 15 cents on a $20 bill. So.
Okay, we're going to get into all that here. And again, I invite your calls at 663-1270 if you want to call in, whichever side of the issue you fall upon. If you live in the Mandan area. Okay, we've talked about the benefits. We've talked about what it is that we would pay for. Let's get down to the brass tacks here and talk about what it's going to cost, how the taxes are going to be covered. I guess I should start by asking very specifically what will and will not be included. What will and will not be affected by this increase in the rate of sales tax?
Yeah, I think that's an excellent question.
Yeah.
Obviously one of the concerns that we fielded from residents in Mandan, particularly those that are on a fixed income, is that, they're leery of supporting something, not because they disagree with the project, but they're concerned about their pocketbooks, rightfully so. However, one thing that we really want to make community members aware of is that this sales tax doesn't impact all purchases. There are select items that are taxable as sales, and there are items that aren't. And some of the items that you think about that aren't covered are those that we make on a daily basis, including groceries.
Yeah.
And so,
food is not covered.
If you've got the mindset that, well, if this passes, I'm driving over to Bismarck to buy my groceries, please don't do so. Don't do that because they're not taxed, and you would be spending more money on the fuel to go over to the community of Bismarck. So, among the things that aren't taxed are grocery store food sales, prescription drugs and medical equipment, most professional services. So if you've got a plumber coming out, keep them coming. Motor vehicles, farm machinery and machinery repair costs, electricity and natural gas. Now, that leads us to the things that are taxable. And the items that are taxable are capable of generating $1.95 million annually to help pay for this facility. That's how it's being funded. So of those taxable items, they include those of you who are out enjoying a drink every now and then. Alcohol is taxed, tobacco is taxed, candy and gum, motel stays, non-agriculture machinery, food served in restaurants. So those are the major categories when we like to talk to people about what's not taxed and what's taxed. Please continue to shop in town.
Yeah.
Your support will go to help create a beautiful facility in this community. And please don't fear when you're going to go run out, grab a carton of milk, some bananas and eggs. They're not taxed.
So if you're buying, say, a car or a boat or maybe some sporting equipment, well, would that be covered, the sporting equipment across the street here?
So when it comes to the sporting equipment, that would. If it's used as farm machinery, I'm sure those who are familiar with agriculture know the types of exemptions that they're able
the John
to achieve.
Deeres and so on.
Absolutely. Vehicles, they're not taxed. That's an excise tax that's
Right.
administered by the state of North Dakota. Now, if you go and you buy, maybe a brand new lawnmower or a side-by-side ATV, those are taxable items. The one
Okay.
thing, though, that is available, has always been and will continue to be, is a cap. So consumers have and will be able to request to utilize that $25 cap on taxable purchases once they reach that amount. It's something that very few people recognize, very few people utilize because it
Right.
takes some time. You have to fill out an application, go to the tax director's office. But how often are you making a $2,500, $5,000 purchase in one fell swoop? That's fewer. It's the incremental spending that we do that really will add up to help pay for this facility. And we're counting on that. Utilizing the sales tax is an excellent way to spread the costs, not only to those residents that will directly benefit from it, but to outsiders, friends, family who visit this community. We're all pooling our resources to build a facility to impact the community.
Now, very specifically in dollars and cents, let's talk dollars and cents, specifically what it's going to cost the average Joe or Jane living in Mandan if this goes into effect.
And so what we do is we break it down on the incremental cost in taxable collections for you if you're out spending some money. So for instance, this is readily available on the brochure that we provide. It's up on Facebook. It's on our website. If you're spending $20, we're going to go out to eat. I'm going to spend $20. It's going to cost me an extra 15 cents. 15 cents.
Okay.
You spend $50. 50 is the new 20. I'm spending 38 cents to build a $22 million facility for the city of Mandan. I'm dropping $100. I'm really spending now.
Yeah.
75 cents.
So if you're buying a lawnmower, how much is a lawnmower nowadays anyway?
Well, it depends on what your tastes are. My lawnmower, I don't know. I could get away with very little because I'm not the one pushing it so often.
Well, let's say, I don't know, $500. Would you pay $500 for a
Maybe
lawnmower?
$500.
Okay, so 75, that would be what, $375, I think, something like that.
On the lawnmower purchase.
Well, it sounds very reasonable.
Absolutely. And like I said, it's crowdsourcing
Yeah.
in crowdsourcing's original format where you collect a little bit from everyone to make a big impact on this community. We're hoping to collect on all the people that are coming in through our community to help support this. The beauty of this is it's a facility that is a destination and it's attraction. So once it's built, we will see more people coming to our community. It will bring in more families who are spending more money, who are helping pay down this facility that much faster.
Now, you say when it's built. Again, what is the proposed timeline for the actual construction and opening of the complex?
Yeah, and for that, I'd deflect to Cole.
The timeline that we're looking at is if it passes on June 9th, we would go out for RFPs for architectural services, and then we would from there award that contract. The design process would take place. We would like to open bids by January of 2016.
Okay.
Construction would start in the spring of 2016,
Next year, all right.
April. We have a weather like we had this year. Maybe it could happen in March. The idea would have the complex completely finished by the fall of 2017 when school would start.
The fall of 2017. So we're talking a little over 2 years from right now.
Correct.
Okay. Dot, there's quite a few angles from which we can come on this. We talked about the specific cost, what it would cost in terms of dollars and cents. Something else I wanted to ask, but I'm going to ask you to hold that thought for just a moment here, because we do have a break coming up. Again, we're talking with Dot Frank, and I wanted to mention also, we're talking with Dot Frank and the folks from VoteYesMandan.com. We are recording the show today, and both this show and the previous show we did with our friend Marlo Anderson, he's also a friend of the show. Marlo was on 2 weeks ago giving the opposing viewpoint on this. In fact, it was Marlo, though, who actually suggested I contact you because your name came up in conversation as one of the people who would, give the opposing viewpoint. So I guess we have to give him some props for that. But I am recording, both shows will be recorded, and I will put them both up at the same time on the website podcast page. in the next couple of days at supertalk1270.com. So in the future, between now and when the actual vote is held on June the 9th,
June 9th.
and that's a Tuesday, between now and then, folks can actually tune in and hear for themselves what some of the major proponents and opponent are actually saying about this issue. So hold that thought. You wanted to wrap up here? We got about another minute for you.
Yeah, no, I mean, we appreciate those like Marlo who are interested in learning more about the project. You know, one thing that we have is a little bit of time on our side to educate those naysayers initially and get them to consider the investment in our community. You know, I appreciate, again, Marlo's comments. Marlo still has time to reconsider and get out and vote yes on this project.
Well,
and
he's not a fire-breathing opponent of this. I mean, he's not. He didn't get crazy about it or anything. You get the feeling even a guy like Marlo, he kind of took the devil's advocate position, but he did say he would be willing to hear your case.
Yeah, so hopefully, you know, as people have the opportunity to hear that program and hear this program, they'll consider the vote and vote yes on this project. They'll see the impacts that this can make on the community, the benefit to the community as a whole, and the long-term investment. You know, $22 million is a lot of money. However, it's not $22 million spent and gone in 1 year or 2 years. It's a facility and infrastructure that will be here for a lifetime.
Sure.
And so that's another thing to consider. We're excited about the opportunity to present this to the city of Mandan, its residents, and hear how they come out on June 9th to vote.
All right, we're talking about the proposal to raise the sales tax in Mandan in order to help pay for the proposed new Mandan Sports Complex. Again, your comments are welcome here at 663-1270 if you'd like to call in. Now, I will say, Dot, before the break here, you guys have really done your homework with these brochures and the artwork you've done. And how would we get a hold of these brochures if we want to look at them and see for ourselves?
Yeah, so I guess the best way to get in touch with committee members is to go to our website, voteyesmandan.com, take a peek at who is serving on our committee as volunteers. If you know them, give them a call, stop in their place of business. You could also reach out to us on Facebook. Shoot us a message or post a comment that you'd like to get some brochures.
Oh, you have a Facebook page.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, you know, we'd like you to like us on Facebook, follow us, request those brochures. We'll bring them out. You could share them with your coworkers, your families, your peers. We also have posters. So as you are advocating alongside with us in support of a yes vote for the Mandan Sports Complex, we'd love to supply you with those materials. You know, we're really about education. You know, we're not forcing the hand to get people to vote yes for this complex. We want them to consider it, deliberate the benefits and the impact on them, their ability to contribute to a cause, and then get out and vote. So informational in nature, we will supply those to you. Just reach out to us through the website and or social media.
More with Dot Frank and friends from VoteYesMandan.com. Talking about the proposal for the sports complex, which would be funded by a raise in the sales tax in the city of Mandan. And we'll continue in just a moment here at Super Talk 1270 and supertalk1270.com.
Right now, it's 57.
Get the app called Radio Pup for your iPhone and take us everywhere you go. Bismarck & Mandan's own Super Talk 1270.
Yes, it's true. We cover all the bases with our bumper music. We go from AC/DC to Rossini and the Thieving Magpie, all in one sitting. It's an amazing thing. All right, Super Talk 1270. Online, supertalk1270.com. Oh, by the way, Dot, we're talking with Dot Frank and friends. We'll turn once again to Cole Higlin in just a moment, who's from the Parks and Rec Department, with a couple of specific questions about the sales tax. But, Dot, you said you have a Facebook page. What is the name of the page if people want to find it on Facebook?
Yeah, if you're looking for us on Facebook, just in your search box, type in Vote Yes Mandan Sports Complex. In fact, you probably just put Vote Yes Mandan and we'll pop right up to the top. As I referenced going in, we've got 1,202 likes right now on Facebook. Great following, wonderful discourse. A lot of people from within the community commenting on the impact that it could have on them as residents, as well as those out-of-towners, the people who have been here, moved away, and want to see this type of opportunity acted upon in the community.
I must say, of the two sides, you folks, and this is not an endorsement one way or the other. I'm trying to be Mr.
We'll take that endorsement, Jim.
I'm trying to be the objective moderator here as much as possible. But of the two sides, you seem to be the ones who really have your ducks in a row on this, with all the organized, the brochures and the artwork and the website.
It's been a long time coming, and that's
Which
one
leads
thing
me-
that,
yeah.
we want residents to be aware of the fact that this isn't a conversation that was initiated the start of 2015. This has been going on for several years, so we have the benefit of that planning behind us.
Well, there's kind of a devil's advocate thing going here, too. You know, it's my gig, especially as the professional prognosticator, to, kind of call you guys into question just to be sure that everything is on the up and up. And so far, you've done pretty well. That's not an out-and-out endorsement, but I will say, like I say, you guys got your ducks in a row on this.
Well, thank you.
Okay. And again, we'll invite some conversation here at 663-1270. Cole Higland from the Parks and Rec Department. Cole, I wanted to ask you specifically, we talk about a sales tax. How does this work in terms of a sales tax? Why a sales tax as opposed to some of the other methods by which you could raise the money?
Yeah, park districts are limited for their debt that we can have as far as 1% of total taxable collections for the city of Mandan. And that we're different than cities and schools. They're actually at 5%. So it puts some limitations associated with what we can take out and do these type of projects. With the cost of construction and things that are taking place, $22 million debt, when we can only be in debt at $6.2 million, really requires that we have the opportunity to make sure we're taking care of all of our other facilities. And our commissioners have done a great job of making sure that not only are we looking forward with progress, but how are we going to maintain what we have here today? And that's one of the questions that I think people ask is, how are you going to maintain this facility? With the school and the park district, we are looking at putting together a long-term maintenance fund, and those funds will sit in there and continue to grow annually so that 5, 6, 10 years down the road, when there needs to be a capital repair, we're not going back to the citizens and the sales tax vote. We're actually putting funds into a capital long-term repair. And we do that today with the current Mandan Aquatic Center with the school district. We
Right.
actually put funds in there to make sure we can maintain that facility.
Now, Dot and Cole, for that matter, you talked about some of the other communities that had done something similar. I assume you have done some studying of some of the other towns, especially towns that are similar in layout and size to Mandan. What have you learned from the experiences of these other towns?
I think that they were blown away by the response and activity that ensued as a result of the build out. I mean, you look at communities to the west of us, a classic story is Dickinson and their rec
Dickinson.
center. I mean, they were not prepared at all to see the volume of people interested in becoming members of that facility, supporting it through usage. I mean, it just blows people out of the water how the community has responded to that. We've also got cities to the east of us who have been successful in passing sales tax initiatives to support Parks and Rec activities. And again, Cole, those are his peers. So I would, again, refer to Cole and the conversations that he's had with some of the directors across the state.
Williston did a $78 million rec center. Dickinson did a $35 million rec center. If you've been out to those communities, I mean, it's really filled out around those developments. We go back to the retail and the commercial development. But what we're missing is people always think it's for the kids that are in sports. It's not so much for the kids that are in sports. There's opportunities for kids that don't have the abilities to make the varsity team or be a part of a team, but want to go and recreate and meet friends. And that's what these facilities do. Is when you go to these facilities, mom and dad may not know many people when their kid's in kindergarten through 5th grade. They start to know some friends and family. The kid gets invited to a birthday party. Those are all those ripple effects by having these type of complexes. When you go off to the east and talk about other sales tax,
Yeah.
Valley City just passed a sales tax for a new wellness center. Actually, Devil's Lake failed. It was very close. But they're actually going back to the vote again. Minot was doing an $88 million rec center that was failed. So there are a lot of opportunities that are taking place here in the community that I think just meets the needs of what we want to be in North Dakota. When we travel to the cities and other areas, people look at the amenities and the things that they have, and why can't North Dakota have those? And especially Mandan today.
Well, I think it's a healthy thing that you have referendums like this or referenda to keep you guys honest, to make sure that all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted. I wanted to ask you, let's acknowledge the proverbial elephant on the couch. I mean, the economic situation right now in this state is kind of unique in terms of our history. How much of this is really dependent on the continued upswing in the economy due to the oil boom, which, as we've seen in recent months, could go either way in the foreseeable future? The boom could go bust. It could happen.
Hey, one of the great things that we're trying to make sure on this 1.9% increase is that we're only budgeting 75% of those funds at this time. It will be paid off in 16 years, but we're trying to be the conservative that we are in our state, is that if the economy does have a downturn, it will actually take 21 years by only using 75% of that $1.9 million. So we're saying worst case scenario, if the economy does to drop, it will be paid off in 21 years.
Okay.
If it stays as it is today, it will be paid off in 16 years at 1.9, and that's without any increase to the sales tax. We're hoping that this would increase sales tax. As those increased dollars increase, that gets paid off sooner.
Now, forgive me if I want to backtrack a little bit here. Have we talked about how long would this increase stay in effect? Is it a permanent increase, or is there a sunset provision?
Correct. There is a sunset associated with it.
And that is for when?
Well, it is obviously when the debt is paid off.
Oh, okay. When the debt is paid off, it would again, it would go back to what it is right now.
So we're projecting it to be paid off in 16 years if we stay today at 1.9 million collections. If it increases, obviously, it would cut the term of the debt off.
Yeah. You guys have done some serious number crunching on this.
Well, we want to be transparent. We thank the city of Mandan. We thank our staff at the Park District, obviously the citizens group with Dot sitting here and all those that have gone together and done a great job. KK Bull's been involved with them too and then providing great direction. And we have a great group of people. When we actually started this process, we know from a Park District standpoint, we can only provide education and facts. We can't do the cheerleading and the grassroots effort to get the people out there to vote. And I want to say thank you to all of them because there was people asking to be a part of this committee. We just kind of gave some people who we know are very supportive of what the Park District does, not only personally, but obviously just long-term benefits.
BisMan Weekly on Super Talk 1270. We're talking with the folks from VoteYesMandan.com who are making their case in favor of the sales tax increase for Mandan in order to develop and get going the Mandan Sports Complex, which they're shooting for sometime in the fall of 2017, if I recall correctly. What about the turnout for the vote? I mean, Dot, you have a little bit of a political background. You, of all people, certainly know how difficult it is to get people involved, especially in an off year, when there's, nothing else looming in terms of a big major election coming.
Well, we're hoping this is a big major election because it's a big major investment in the community, and we're hoping that serves as inspiration to get people off the couch and into the polls. And it's particularly easy when it comes to voting. On June 9th, they've got a couple options. They can vote at the Brave Center or Spirit of Life Church. Again, that's on June 9th from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. That's your traditional ballot, fill it out, drop it in the bucket type voting.
Just bring the ID and you're good to go?
Absolutely.
Okay.
But beyond that, again, we recognize that people are busy. So does our Secretary of State. And so we've got absentee ballots available. So you could pick those up today if you want. You can get those from the city of Mandan. Just walk into the offices and request that absentee ballot. There's a process that goes along with that. But again, like North Dakota says, voting is simple as pie. Get in, get out, and vote.
I like pie.
I like pie, too.
I like pie, too. All right, Super Talk 1270. We got a couple more minutes here at 663-1270. Dot, we've got just about 2 minutes here before we have to close up shop. And I want to thank you folks, you and Cole and Deborah, for stopping in this morning to give your side. And again, I want to say that today's show, in addition to the one we taped previously with Mr. Anderson, who took the opposing devil's advocate viewpoint on this issue, both programs will be posted at the same time on the website in the next couple of days at supertalk1270.com. And I'm going to, one final time, I'm going to defer it to you, Dot, and give you about a minute and a half here to make your final pitch, if you will. Yeah,
well, again, the pitch is to really present a concept that I think has tremendous opportunities and benefits for our community. This investment in our community is a long-standing investment. It's something that you'll admire, your children's children, and those after that will have an opportunity to kind of hang their hat on. Not only is it a facility that really addresses some immediate concerns with existing infrastructure. We're not asking for this just as a want. We're asking for it as a need. Those existing facilities, the All Seasons Arena, Ferris Field, and the track, they have to be repaired to the tune of several $1 million. You really need to begin asking yourself, do we put a Band-Aid on those facilities, or do we take advantage of an opportunity and an economic time that we've never experienced before to build a facility that not only will address those needs, but present tremendous opportunities that this community doesn't have. Tremendous opportunities to attract additional residents, attract additional shoppers, spenders, and visitors to our community, serve as a catalyst for new construction. That's one thing that's really exciting. Cole referenced that earlier, the impact that these facilities have had at communities across the state and across the country, and their ability to get others to build up around it is phenomenal. Please get educated, get out and get voting. It's voteyesmandan.com. Again, find us on Facebook, Vote Yes Mandan Sports Complex.
Dodd-Frank and friends, thank you for joining us. Always a pleasure.
Thanks, Jim.
All right, and that's it. We'll have the website, we'll have the podcast up on the website in a day or two. You can check it out for yourself at supertalk1270.com. Your comments welcome as well. Thanks for listening.
ABC News, Super Talk 1270. Accurate news, stimulating talk. This is KLXX AM, Mandan, Bismarck.